think it's 9 o'clock.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair this year for the Shawnee County Commission. Joining me today is Commissioner Bill Rippon, who represents District 1, Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. We are conducting this meeting in a virtual format due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that we are able to return to a in-person setting as soon as we are out of the uncontrolled area of our scorecard, which could be any day now. We will begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all mute your microphone so that we don't have feedback and overlay, I will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, our first item.
Okay, the first item is item 1, proclamations, presentations. Presentation of the new requisition and procurement management application. Pat Oblander, Information Technology Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Oblander with Information Technology. We just thought we'd take a minute today to do a little presentation on a new application called the Requisition and Procurement Management System that our software development team has built for the Audit, Finance, and Purchasing Department. This application does affect vendors that would like to do business with Shawnee County, so we thought it'd be a good idea to get some information out to them through this presentation, and also highlight how our software development teams build applications for the county. There's a lot of different applications that we've built. This one is one in a long line of those kinds of applications. And I'd like to have Andrew Mumaw, one of the developers on the team, do the presentation. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to Andrew to get that started.
Okay. Can everybody see the presentation okay?
Yes.
Okay. As Pat said, Andrew Mumaw, Shawnee County IT. I'd like to take about 10 to 15 minutes to cover this system, the requisition and procurement management system. It is going to be used by the purchasing and audit finance group. As we go through this, if you do have any questions, please feel free to jump in. I do want to start off here thanking the teams involved. There are quite a few people involved in this process. And as we know, last year, this project covered from May to about the December timeframe. So we struggled with our COVID and work from home. So some additional thanks is due there for the people involved. For any of our projects, kind of the first place where we start is to try to determine any areas where we can improve. So we partnered with our purchasing group to come up with these 5. First off, we wanted to improve the vendor visibility and help reduce some of their phone calls to the office by in the nature of things like, did you receive my bid? There were some struggles with the COVID and remote work that we want to address as well. So the tabulation does require 2 people for that process. So doing that online is a little more of a challenge. And then vendors previously did also have the option to physically visit and receive the tabulation results in person, excuse me. So we were looking for a way to get that out to them more quickly in the online format. We do also send a lot of communication regarding these bids to the Shawnee County departments. So trying to condense that process as much as possible was a focus. And then with our list of vendors, we do have quite a few different commodity types and communications that go out to them. So trying to manage that can be a little bit of a struggle. So we're looking for an interface to address that. And then we do also want to get as much information that we can out to the public on the website mainly. So that includes visibility throughout the full process, including while waiting for tabulation and when the department is making their decision. So those are our purchasing goals. In addition to that, IT does have some goals of their own anytime we take on new work. We do have the two on the outside here, the follow modern internet standards and moving resources to the cloud, that are a little less visible than the other two. So I'll be covering these opportunities and goals in the following slides, but you won't see those too much just because they kind of just happen. They're mainly security, data accessibility, and then cost and availability resources. For the two middle ones here, we do have eliminating as many manual processes as possible. So when we can, we want to let the computers do anything that may be repetitive or overbearing. And then the goal is always to provide the best user experience possible, so you can find information where you expect it to be and when you need it. So this application does have three main parts, as I mentioned a little bit. There is the Cinco.us website, and then we've also added now a vendor portal. Those two pieces are more public facing, so I'll cover those in detail. And then we have an administrative dashboard, which is mainly for our purchasing employees to use. As we cover all three, again, I'll go back through the opportunities and goals, and do feel free to jump in if you have any questions. So we'll start with the website. With the website, it's kind of important to look and see where we were before we started. This here is a screenshot of the old website. You can see the vendor information here, closing dates, addendums, all that's listed. And then on a separate page, you would get the tabulation documents. You need to download a PDF and have that information available to you. So our main goal here was to try to get that all at one place. Not much has changed on this initial screen here. You still get the same basic information, but as you can see, we've added two additional tabs. So if we click on the pending tab here, our information changes a little bit. You can then see the tabulation document is available. So as we make that transition from open to pending, which is essentially when the close date of the request happens, we won't lose visibility on the document as it goes across these steps. And then if we click on close, there's a lot of additional information here. You can now see, again, both the request and tabulation document, as well as the date that it was in the Board of County Commission, who it was awarded to, the amount that was awarded to that vendor, and then for reference, the contract number that's relevant to that, that request. So those are the improvements that we've made on the website side. We'll revisit these opportunities and goals now. The good user experience piece was mainly focused in on ease of access to the request information. So again, website users can now get that information on one screen, and then they can see additional information and don't lose visibility all on one page and progress through the steps left to right. In the goal of eliminating as many manual processes as possible, we did remove the step for IT of previously what needed to happen was tabulation documents were done in person, and then there was some conversion and posting to the website. All that now happens automatically, so that time is saved. And then again, more information to the public. We've added those additional tabs. They can quickly see contract number, award dates, and amounts on the closing tab there. That does cover the website portion. Any questions so far?
I do not, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Commissioner Rippon.
I have a couple questions. You said the vendors will be notified when their bids are received. Do they get a notice back saying thank you or whatever that we received your bid? How does that work?
They can see in the portal that they have submitted to our process, basically. And if they have any updates or any additional questions that come through, they do receive emails for those communications.
My other question was about addendums. Who sends out the addendum? Does like the project manager send that out then, or does it have to go? Does it have to go to the purchasing department and then out, or how does that work?
My understanding of the process is that we open the bid with the purchasing department, and then there's communication between the purchasing department and whoever the issuing department is. In that process, they determine, based on questions that they're receiving, whether or not they need to issue an addendum. If they do decide that, it then comes back to the purchasing department. And previously we would have posted it on the website, but now they'll just upload their addendum to the request in their portal, and then that'll show on our website.
So how will they know there's an addendum? Do they just have to keep checking back with
if they've submitted to that request, then they'll receive a notification that a new addendum has been added through an email.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Mays?
I think this is great. In addition to the time saving that it'll have for our staff and really the convenience of the folks that are bidding on things, do you anticipate any kind of an increase in the competition for those bids and in the future as a result of being 100% online like this?
I'll let Betty answer that question.
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. Yes, I do. I am truly hoping that with this being much more convenient for the vendors, much more efficient for them, that yes, we will get additional bids that we might not have gotten otherwise. Also, since they can do it, they just upload their proposal or their bid. They can do it to kind of till the last minute. Before they had to make sure that they got it to us and they had to allow some extra time. So yes, I am hoping that we will get more bids.
That's great. Hopefully this saves us quite a bit of money and time in the long run.
Yes.
And Andrew, this may be for you or Betty, but did we include some of our prior vendors in the development of this new website just to kind of get feedback as to what issues they've had in the past or how they thought it might be more efficient?
We didn't really include them in the process, but Michelle Hanshaw, who does our purchasing and does all of the bids, the RFPs, she's really heard it all. Kind of, she's heard the complaints, she's heard the issues, and so that all of that was shared with the development team.
Great, thank you.
I have one other question. Who will receive a notification of bids, or is this something they just have to check occasionally with us, or do we have a list of vendors, say they're concrete vendors, that would that bid go out to all of them, or is that something they just have to look up and see what's going on?
I think Andrew may cover some of this in the rest of his presentation. Okay. So let's go through it first, if that's all right with you, and then we'll go back and answer any questions that aren't addressed.
Okay.
Yep, we should touch on that piece here. So this next part here is the vendor portal. So once the vendors have come in, they will have to go through a short sign-up process. We collect a little bit of information about them, their company name, and where they'd like to receive their emails. They'll see their My Bid section. So this is relevant to basically the bids that they're either currently dealing with or have dealt with in the past. So you can see on this particular example, we have selected the submitted option, so they can see that they have 2 bids that they've submitted against in the past. And then if we click through on this 1520, the Parks and Recreation mocked up example, they do receive additional information here as well. So from here, they can see whether or not it included a pre-bid meeting, whether they've acknowledged the addendums that exist. And then from there, if they'd like to, they also have the option to re-upload, which would overwrite any existing information that they've submitted to us. And they can do that right up until the last minute of the close date. And And then there is also this piece over here where they can actually submit questions through the portal, and then that's received on the administrative side in relation to this bid as well. So those pieces of information are available. And then to the part that you were just asking a question about, if we hit back here, we would go back to our vendor dashboard. From here, you can see the same information in this upper section, the request listing section that you would see on the website. There's one additional piece of functionality here, which is these green plus marks. So if for some reason, right now we're, as the vendor example, we're subscribed already to this lawn care, but these other we're not subscribed to. So if it's concrete or one of these examples and they see a bid out there that they'd like to receive updates on, they can go ahead and click this green plus, and that will add that to essentially their subscriptions, which is where they would start receiving emails based on that. So they can also see all of the different examples where, or the cases where they're already subscribed to the different commodity types. If they wanted to stop receiving notifications on those types for some reason, it kind of works in the opposite direction. They just select one of these red minus buttons in the unsubscribe, and then they would stop receiving emails for those. So that list of commodities is fairly large. On the previous screen, we're not always listing all of the ones that are possible, only the bids that are currently active. If for some reason somebody wanted to subscribe to a type, which we do ask when they initially sign up, which ones they'd like to be subscribed to, if they want to go ahead and add ones that aren't currently active, you can select this user profile icon up here in the top right from their dashboard and then hit subscriptions. And then you'll get the full list. And this is pretty simple. You just basically toggle on the ones you'd like to receive notifications for, and then it will list them out to the right. And again, if you like to stop receiving notifications and you see one over here, you can hit these red X's and it will remove them from the notification list for that commodity type. So that kind of covers the vendor portal. Does that clarify what you had questions about?
Yeah, one other question. If you have a pre-bid meeting, can you put in there that it's a requirement? Do you have that capability, or?
Yes, they can check if it's a required pre-bid meeting, and then what that does on the user end is any vendors that have been selected that way are the only ones that will be able to submit through the portal. So it kind of limits the scope to what we want it to be, essentially. So our wins on that section, again, to revisit the opportunities and goals here, we do have improved vendor visibility. So in the thread of reducing phone calls, all of the information that's available there basically is aimed at that. They can see the status of their submission. They can see questions that they've asked. They can see any of the addendums and whether or not they've acknowledged those in the portal. We did kind of shift the maintenance of trying to determine which vendors are still active, which ones are still interested in the different commodity types over onto the vendors. So now they can maintain that themselves. So there's not any question about whether or not they're still interested. So that covers the vendor portal. The last piece here is the admin portal. And I won't cover this in detail since it's not public facing, but we did address all 5 of these areas with it. And we'll just go over some of the opportunities and goals that we did meet and the wins that we had with this. So the main focus here was just to give purchasing better tools to do what they need to do. We did give them the options to search for vendors, which previously would have just been filing through papers. They can quickly see whether a vendor has been debarred within the vendor records, and quickly just search for contact information if they do need to send one of those communications out. There's also a message notification audit trail. So if there's ever a question about whether a vendor was sent a piece of communication, whether it was received, the system does track that. And we can go back and look at that data if we need to. There's also vendor type creation. So that commodity list that we looked at is extensive, but it may change or maybe new types added. We've got a piece in there where purchasing can add additional types without any sort of IT assistance. It's just something where they go in and put in a description and a title, and then that's available. In the cases where they do that, all of the vendors that are currently registered in the system do receive a notification that there's a new commodity type available. And then again, there's some other actions that are important in their process that we would also possibly want to be able to audit should something come up. That includes when the bid was unsealed, when it was posted, and when we received the actual vendor submissions. So all that data is in there as well. And then on their side, they can also see most, if not all, of the request information in one place. That includes the same information that we saw there in the vendor portal, in addition to the messages and any of the request documents. Our award information is also more detailed and automatically posts to the website. So after a little bit of data entry by purchasing, that is immediately posted to the website. Again, previously there was kind of a get the information, the IT process in there that was a little more manual before it was actually posted on the website. So now that should all be pretty seamless. And then perhaps the most powerful piece of it is the department notifications. So once all the bids have been received, the departments will receive information about who submitted, and then the tabulation of all of the information in there. The system does allow for purchasing to send that all out in one package instead of multiple emails over time or for multiple vendors. So it keeps it all in one place and one source. This system has been live since about December 21st. So far, we have about 150 vendors signed up in the new system. So that's what I have. If you are a vendor, or if you just want to see what's available as far as our requests for Shawnee County, you can see that on the Cinco.us website /purchasing. There's a bids tab on the left-hand side that you can hit to get to the bids information. And then if you do have any questions or have difficulty signing up, feel free to email cincobids@cinco.us. And that's what I have. You guys have any further questions?
Any questions? Betty?
Oh.
I would like to just, I'd like to thank the IT development team. They have done a great job with working with us and asking us the right questions and coming back and asking follow-up questions. I just think this is a great advancement for the county. And as I said to Commissioner Mays, I do hope that this will increase the amount of bids that we get on all of ours, especially with them actually getting a notification that there's a new bid out there in the area they might be interested in. I think that, will hopefully help us get additional bids. I just think this is a big improvement and a big convenience for the vendors, as well as providing efficiencies for the county. And of course, we always want to provide more transparency to the public. So I just wanted to thank them. I think this is a great new program, a great new tool for us to use. As he said, we've been using it for over a month now, and it's been very successful.
I would just like to concur with those remarks from Betty. Pat, thank you for your team. Andrew, Asim, your whole team. I know that IT is always coming up with new ways to develop these things in-house and be more responsive and more professional for Shawnee County. So thank you, Pat.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our work that we've done.
Commissioner Rippon, anything else?
No, I think this is good. Especially for the vendor, I think this is it's good one-stop shopping kind of thing. So I like it.
Commissioner Mays.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks for your presentation today, Pat. Congratulations to all the hard work your team's put in. I think this is great. It helps people do business with the county in a much easier way. It's better for us. It's better for our customers, and excited to see this. I think it also, if it doesn't put us on par with everyone, it might even put us a little bit ahead of every other governmental entity out there. So I'm excited to see it come to fruition.
Great. Thank you. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
There are 5 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion or questions?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Cook. Our roll call vote, please.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Show that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, we have one voucher report today totaling $644,299.95. Highlights of that are under holding accounts. We've got $133,169.41. That is for payments to the state of Kansas. And then under detention facility, Tech Electronics of Kansas for $10,915. That is for the annual fire alarm test and inspection of the jail. So those are the highlights. I don't have any questions, and I would move for their approval.
Motion
Second.
made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote, please.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon.
Yes.
Show that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Show motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. Our roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon.
Yes.
Show that it passes. Our next item.
Item B, Stormont Vale Event Center, number 1, consider approval of capital expenditures in the amount of $54,028.93 for the repair of highway marquee sign and the new Stormont Vale Event Center exterior branding signage, with $32,205 to be paid to Dectronics. That's contract C53-2021. $16,971 to Torgerson Electric, contract C54-2021. $10,017.53 to Shirley Signs, contract C55-2021, and $7,160 to Custom Sheet Metal Inc. with $12,324.50 from the naming rights advertising account to be utilized to help supplement costs.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kellen Seitz, Spectre Vinny Management and Stormont Vale Event Center. First off, I apologize, Cindy. I know that was a lot to get to there, so I'm going to do my best to explain this request this morning. So there's essentially 3 items in the request today that we're requesting CapEx funding balances to be used to pay for. The first one of those is the highway marquee sign, which is a Daktronics electronic digital product that displays all of our upcoming event information, notifications. We've been using it widely now for indicator messaging for our vaccination clinics that are being hosted on site. The south-facing portion of that sign has had some issues over the past about year. So that first request is to repair and replace a lot of those old panels and LED displays and internal workings of that display sign with Daktronics, and that request is $32,205. The second request is the modifications that we needed to make towards the exterior Stormont Vale Event Center sign that's going to be going on the east-facing wall of Landon Arena. The reason for those modifications is because with the new siding that's going up and the water penetration, the former plan for mounting that sign called for upwards of 20 penetrations into the side of the building. We had the electrical engineers and the sign company rework a design that only called for 1 penetration into the side of the building, further reducing the future occurrence or probability of any kind of water leaks or penetration into those new panels that are going on the side of the building. And then the last request here is the refacing of the highway marquee, excuse me, the highway marquee branding sign at the top of that. It currently says Kansas Expo Center. We do have a banner over that right now. This request would reface that sign with new backlit fascia to say Stormont Vale Event Center on the top of that highway marquee sign. All three of these requests have been approved by our Expo Center Advisory Board, or excuse me, our Stormont Vale Event Center Advisory Board. And we also have $12,324 left in our holding account for advertising and branding expenses. We will be applying that towards this request. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding this request. I'm sure there's probably some out there.
Questions for Kellen?
Kellen, on the bid here for the Daktronics for the south facing, I know that side has had a lot of trouble over the years, it seems like, because of the sunshine hitting it pretty much all day long. It says in here there's an option for refurbished spare modules. Is that just to have on hand so that we don't have to go out and buy more panels every time, or what is that for?
Yeah, so that option 4 is an optional replacement option. I believe that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000. We did go down that route in 2020 to replace and repair some of those south-facing panels. The challenge that we have there with just doing the panels is what we're seeing more of an issue with is the internal workings of those panels, the motors, the modules, the electronic equipment. As you indicated, it is getting a lot of sun, and when those electronic components heat up with that sun, that's what's causing a lot of the issue. So this actually replaces all of that electronic equipment and all of those LED display panels on that south-facing side. It's more of a longer term fix. It would allow us to get another couple, if not few, usable years left in that sign. We do have some approaches that we are exploring and looking to take for a full replacement of the highway marquee sign in its entirety, both the south-facing and north-facing sign, and those options are being discussed currently with our advisory board.
Are we confident that the new signage will hold up better to the wear and tear?
Yes, we are. Most of the internal electronic workings of that sign on the south-facing side have not been replaced. It's simply been the LED display, which projects the image on that screen. So we are confident, as well as Daktronics is confident, that we can get a few more usable years out of our sign with this current repair.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding this item? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays and second by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
So that it passes 3-0. Kellen, before I let you go,
Yeah.
rather than have you bring it up in administrative communication, what's happening at the Expo Center tonight?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to jump back on here, but thanks for the headway here. So tonight we actually are launching a collaborative effort between our Spectre corporate office and one of our other Spectre venues in the Kansas City market. We are doing a live streaming of a Q&A with some of the former Kansas City Chiefs legend football players to the likes of Christian Okoye, Will Shields. That stream starts tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. That stream can be followed on our Facebook page. It'll be streamed live out of our Facebook page. We were formally charging for that streaming event, but through some popular demand and some support and resources from our corporate office, we are able to offer that for free to anybody who wants to watch it. It is a interactive streaming session with a moderator from here in Topeka. Sean Kelly, the AM and FM sports radio host with Cumulus Media, is going to be moderating that stream. There are 4 players that are going to be on the stream, and then after the stream, if the community and football fans alike want to participate in some VIP sessions with individual players, they'll have the option to purchase those VIP sessions where they get essentially a one-on-one or a 3-on-1 video Skype conversation with those players to talk about really anything. You know, they're talking about past Super Bowl experiences, their playing experience, and a lot of the fun excitement leading up to the big game this weekend. I can't use the official language, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's an exciting event.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that. Okay. Our next item.
Item C, Human Resources. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C56-2021 with Evergreen to perform a wage study for Shawnee County at a cost of $43,500.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. It's been 6 years since we last did a wage study in Shawnee County. In 2020, we went out for RFP, and unfortunately, COVID put the study on hold. I worked together with a committee that consisted of myself, Jim Crow, Betty Greiner, Brian Cole, and Michael Augustine to select Evergreen from our 7 respondents to the RFP. The study will cost $43,500 and will begin immediately once approved. It will take 4 to 6 months to complete the study, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? I just know, Angela, this was a big part of our last compensation adjustment that we made 5 years ago, and time does fly. And so knowing that this is going to be a big part of it again, to see where we stand against other like-sized communities.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
So motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes,
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
so that it passes 3-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Angela. Our next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C57-2021, amendment to contract C69-2018 with Global Payments Direct, Inc. to add the Great Overland Station as an additional credit card payment location with an expense for this service of 2.5% per transaction, a $12.50 monthly fee, and a $24.75 quarterly fee with funding from the operating budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Lorette, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. This morning, we are asking to add on to our agreement with Global Direct so that we can take credit card payments at the Great Overland Station. As you may know, we have a new employee who just started on the 1st who will be operating the Great Overland Station, and this would give her the ability to take payments on site. And this is the exact same thing we do at all of our other locations. Nothing new, just continuing that service at a new location. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions regarding this item?
I would move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. Roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes,
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
show that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item D2, consider approval of request to award bids and subsequent agreements. Item A, contract C58-2021 with Falk Architects, Inc. to provide on-call architectural services from February 8th, 2021 through February 28th, 2023. And B, contract C59-2021 with Professional Engineering Consultants, PA, to provide on-call engineering and field services from February 8th, 2021 through February 28th, 2023.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Director, Parks and Recreation Department. Yes, we are asking to enter into separate agreements with Falk Architects and professional engineering consultants to be our on-call architectural and engineering service providers. So we will follow the county purchasing guidelines with both of these contracts. We did have an internal team of 5 different people that reviewed. We received several bids. There was a lot of interest in this from area firms. So we did have a committee of 5 staff that reviewed those separately and then came together and made our recommendation. And then we brought that to the Professional Services Selection Committee, and they approved of the process and who we chose. So we would like to offer the architectural services to Falk Architects and the engineering services to PEC. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Tim regarding this item?
Tim, could you explain to me, and I think I'm pretty sure I already know the answer, but if you could just kind of explain for general public, the difference between the on-call services and some of the other design services that we use on a regular basis, because I know that Falk has had this contract before, but we haven't used him exclusively for all architectural services.
That is correct. We can use both of these services for projects that are currently under $10,000. If we're anything over $10,000, we'd need to follow our normal bid process. However, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to use them for projects that are under $10,000. So there have been times that with these contracts and some of our other contracts, we felt like in best interest to go out to bid, and the agreements do allow for that. So, however, it does make it does speed up,
We'll wait, Tim.
I think
we
lost him.
lost him.
Yes.
I get the gist of the answer though, so.
I
Well,
think as much as they
can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can
Now
hear you,
we
Tim.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can see you. You can't see me. I can't start my video for some reason, but I think, yeah, I heard you, Aaron, say you got the gist of my answer. There I am.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Any other questions for Tim? All right. Is there a motion?
I would move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. A roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes,
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon.
Yes.
so that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E, Commission Number 1, acknowledge that Commissioner Cook is reappointing Rich Eckert to the Stormont Valley Event Center Advisory Board for a 3-year term ending December 31, 2023.
Commissioners, Ms. Eckert has been my appointee to the Stormont Valley Event Center. So,
Ken,
oh,
something's happening. Commissioner Kent, couldn't hear that.
I don't know if
happening
it's
again.
frozen. Okay. I don't know.
Well, it looks like we're losing our chairman.
Hello.
You're coming and going.
Video off or something.
Hello.
All right, Commissioner Rippon's back.
I'm back.
And there's
Sorry
Commissioner
about
Cook.
that. Sorry about that, guys.
All right.
As I was saying, Rich Eckert has been my appointee, and I'm renominating him to another term.
I will second.
I'll just say I believe Rich is actually the chairman of the board right now, so I think it would be wise to go ahead and approve this. So.
Okay, so motion made by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon.
Yes.
All right, so that it passes. Our next item.
Item 5, administrative communications.
I show that, Aaron, do you have an administrative communication for us this morning?
I do. Good morning, Commissioners. Aaron Mahan, Shawnee County Emergency Management. I just kind of wanted to give you a real quick update on the weather. As you noticed, there was some discussion about a little bit of snow this morning, but hopefully that will clear off this afternoon and we might see some sun. The winds will hopefully die down some because they were pretty brutal this morning. Tomorrow's supposed to be fairly decent, but the big thing I want to kind of hit on is Saturday. We are expecting another snow pattern to move through the area, potentially 1 to 2 inches maybe. But of course, you just never know anymore. It can change at the drop of a hat. One of the big things I'd like to really hit is Saturday night as extremely cold temperatures. It could be down around 4 to 5 degrees with wind chills of upwards or lower of 10 below zero. So if you absolutely must get out, make sure that you're bundled up real good. And also, it kind of goes without saying that the human body loses most of its heat through the head area. So make sure your head's covered if you do go out. Wear a scarf. So if you don't have to go out, I would stress you stay inside somewhere. Maybe try to get some of your running around or errands done during the daytime on Saturday or even tomorrow if you have a chance, where it'll be a little bit warmer and somewhat clear. Have your preparedness kits ready and stocked, not just at home, but also in your vehicles in case you do have to get out. You might break down along the road somewhere, so you're not stuck out in the cold for very long. Also, a couple of real quick reminders. If you are out driving and it's precipitating, raining, snowing, whatever, and you have your windshield wipers on, remember you also must have your headlights on. And then, of course, stay tuned to local media, the National Weather Service, to stay updated on the weather. And of course, once again, it kind of goes without saying, as they say in Kansas, if you don't like the weather, hang around for 5 minutes, it'll change. So everybody have a good weekend. Be safe.
Thank you, Aaron. Any other administrative communications this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. I'd just like to remind everyone this weekend from 9 till noon this Saturday. February 6th is our household hazardous waste Saturday collection event. Accept all household hazardous waste as well as electronic waste free of charge. The only charge we have is the old CRT monitors and TVs. There is a small fee for those. So for more information, please call 286-4381. And again, the address is 131 Northeast 46th Street. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Other administrative communications.
Good morning, Commissioners. Craig Barnes, Health Department and COVID Operations Section Chief for our COVID response team. Just wanted to provide you with a brief vaccine update this morning. So thus far in Shawnee County, there have been over 25,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered. That is both first and second doses. Those are doses that have been administered by both Stormont and St. Francis, as well as the Health Department and the VA. The Health Department itself has administered 4,006 doses of vaccine in our community. As we mentioned last week, as part of our Board of Health update, the COVID-19 response team has developed here in our community a Shawnee County vaccine collaborative, where we are partnering with our hospitals, so Stormont Vail, University of Kansas Health System, St. Francis. The VA actually is a part of that as well, and Grace Med. So we are still evaluating ways to try to engage the pharmacies that are part of the Federal Pharmacy Partnership Program. We have, if you will, struck out at this point in time, but we are trying to engage those groups to get an adequate representation of the total number of doses that are coming into our community and being administered. both via the state allocation, which is how we get our vaccine, as well as the allocations that are received directly from the federal government. So our partners here in our community currently are vaccinating on 3 different stages. So we have the phase 1 that we're still wrapping up. We're getting some additional groups that are being added by KDHE that should have been in there in the first place, as well as some residual healthcare associated workers like new hires and things of that sort that fit the criteria. So we're working first doses for that group, as well as working through second doses for that group at this time. And then we have started in a couple of weeks back, as we mentioned last week, on the phase 2 first doses. So we are vaccinating at 3 different levels here in our community. Additionally, we kind of touched on this a little bit last week, but we have sub-prioritized phase 2 into 2 priority areas, what we consider phase 2A and phase 2B. So 2A is what we're working on right now, which consists of the 65 and older population, law enforcement, first responders, K through 12, so school faculty and staff, both public and private, as well as some congregate settings. So specifically, some of the examples would be the shelters here in our community, assisted living, independent living, and adult care homes that fall in that congregate setting group. Our current allotment that we received from the state is still only at 1,950 doses. That is the allotment for the entirety of Shawnee County at this point in time. And that's the state allocation. So as I mentioned previously, we are not fully aware of what the federal allocation of doses that are coming into our community, but we are diligently working to try to make contact with those entities to get a better idea of what that number is. Not only that, but get an idea of the role that those pharmacies, I'm sure you've all seen the news here recently of the more corporate pharmacy chains being starting to receive vaccine allocations here in the near future. So we're trying to figure out what role, if you will, they'll play in vaccinating the public here in Shawnee County. And that 1,950, those doses are based on what the state also receives from the federal government. And so when we look at that 1,950 doses that we're receiving here in Shawnee County, that is roughly about 5% of the state allocation. Shawnee County has about 6% of the state's population. So looking at that, that is kind of the distribution they're looking at as they look at how they are allocating doses here in our community. Next, just kind of talk, we are working on kind of finishing up through the law enforcement first responders, which is what the health department kind of took the priority on here in phase 2. And so we're finishing up with those groups with their first doses. The next group that the health department specifically will be working on is going to be the 65 and older population that are uninsured or unaffiliated or do not receive care within one of the larger networks. So Stormont Vale or the Cotton O'Neill clinics, St. Francis and their outreach clinics, or the VA. And so we'll be working through the interest survey that we have made available in our community. Those individuals who have listed that they are unaffiliated, do not have primary care, those are the groups that the health department will be prioritizing. That falls right within the mission of our health department to make sure that we are working with those populations that are disproportionately impacted by whatever the specific cause may be. And in this case, that being COVID-19. Individuals, again, I want to talk a little bit about the interest survey. Individuals can go online. We have it available in multiple different avenues on our social media pages or on our webpage. If an individual, and we know specifically with this population, may not have access to internet or have difficulty filling out the survey, we have made our information specialists available in our emergency operations center to assist the folks with filling out the survey. I know I personally have taken some calls and assisted in filling out. Nobody here at the health department, if we have individuals who are calling and unable to or having issues with filling out the survey, our staff is ready to assist in completing those surveys for those individuals who are eligible to receive vaccine in phase 2. So the number that individuals can call, that is 251-4949. That'll get them to the COVID hotline in our emergency operations center and assist them with filling out that survey. So We also encourage individuals to contact their primary care providers if they have one, and discuss other options that may be available. We want individuals to look at any possibility to receive the vaccine that they possibly can. Even if they sign up for our survey and we have to take them off on the back end, that is fine if they've received the vaccine in another avenue. So we want to encourage individuals to explore every possibility here in our community to receive a vaccine. So with that, that kind of concludes my brief update this morning. I would open it for any questions that you have today.
Craig, I know you have a meeting scheduled for later today, a press conference regarding the scorecard, but would you be able to address the scorecard this morning with the commissioner, since we are waiting to see once we reach out of uncontrolled into a high, returning back to a public format at the Great Overland Station, so that we would have advanced notice to the public if we have reached out of the uncontrolled?
Yeah, so the scorecard will be publicly released at 1:30. So when that goes out at that point in time, we'll be discussing the scorecard with the community at that time. The decision to move from a virtual commission meeting is really up to you all as the commission, as you see fit. I think the understanding is that once we reach that high index score and move out of the uncontrolled, that we would be moving to a more in-person format. The health department will always push for remote opportunities as much as possible to reduce the possible transmission of this virus and keep our citizens safe as much as possible. So, any other questions I may be able to answer for you today?
I have a question. When people are signing up for shots, it's called a survey.
So people are expressing their interest on our interest survey. To do that, as we work through, especially with the individuals who are interested in receiving, we'll go through a first come, first serve as they filled out the survey for those individuals who are unaffiliated, uninsured, or have no primary care provider. That is who the health department will specifically be prioritizing in that 65 and older population.
Is this like a one-stop shop for people who have questions or are looking, where do I go to get a vaccination? Will this address what pharmacies are doing, or what our public health is doing, what the hospitals are doing? Is there one location where people can go to and find information? Or is it just kind of
I guess I'm a little
throughout?
confused on your question. Is your question asking whether or not the survey is the one-stop shop, or is your question asking if there's a location to go? I apologize.
A location to go. Like a website where they can go and get information. Where can they go to sign up for shots? What are the hospitals doing? What are pharmacies doing? What are we doing? And I just wonder if there's one location.
That's a good question. As I alluded to earlier, we do not have any idea what the pharmacies are doing. We are working and trying as diligently as we possibly can to get an idea of what those pharmacies are doing that are part of that federal pharmacy partnership program. It's not part of the state allocation process, so we are at this point in time not aware. Other than that, each of the hospitals have vaccine pages. The health department is working on developing something similar for that as well, and getting that information out. As information comes out, we're trying to push that out through forums such as this, or press briefings every Thursday, as well as other media requests as to come into the health department, and putting that information out to our public. So we have our interest survey. Our other health systems have other systems set up to be able to answer questions, their own hotlines that they've had since the beginning of this pandemic to answer questions. And so individuals have a lot of different avenues through this vaccine collaborative that we have. Is a lot of the focus has been on the communications to make sure that we're partnering to provide consistent messaging across the board, so that you don't call one entity and get a different response than what you would if you called another entity.
Craig, I know that I hear from the people in the community, they say, hey, I've sent in emails, or I tried to email somebody over at the health department. Is there a central person they should be emailing? And I know I'm just assuming that your inbox is just flooded with everyone wanting to know the answers to everything. Who should they be directing inquiries, or how to sign up to? Is it to you? Is it to Derek? And what would be a response time?
So that's a great question. And so we have two real specific avenues that we have multiple people here at the Shawnee County Health Department that can can respond. So we have the 4949 number, the 251-4949, where we have our information specialists available. We have folks available to speak in both English and Spanish down there. So anybody can call that number and get a response that way. Those phone lines are pretty inundated, as you can imagine, with a lot of callers. And so we're encouraging folks, if they can't get through, try again or leave a voicemail, and we'll work to get through those. I think the biggest, well, before I get to that, the other avenue is our COVID vaccine email. So we have COVID vaccine, no spaces in between there, all one word, at snco.us. Individuals can email that as well. And we have a team of individuals who have access to that email inbox to respond with that. As you can imagine, as well as you kind of alluded to, a lot of emails coming through that address, as well as our personal addresses. We're working through them. The biggest thing I think to understand, and the biggest thing that I would ask, is a level of patience from our community. We have over 70,000 people who are eligible to receive vaccine in phase 2. And we are currently receiving allocations of only 1,950 doses a week. That to get through the entire phase 2 is going to take a long time based on our current allocations. And we are really focusing on trying to make that distribution as equitable as possible through this phase. So I understand that there's probably been some delays in getting responses to people, but that is due to the massive influx of both phone calls and emails, and our staff trying to manage and work to collaborate these operations across the entire county.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions I'm able to answer for you today?
Craig, real quick, and maybe if you want to have this conversation offline, that's fine. But a lot of news has been coming out about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine's potential, and I just wanted to know: are you guys planning to shift gears as soon as that becomes available? Is there a plan in place for when that happens, and what we're going to do to respond?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. Similar to the fact of, if you look at it, when we started receiving vaccine here as the health department, we were receiving vaccines of only the Moderna vaccine. And then we started receiving the Pfizer vaccine. So we had plans in place on how to distribute that and partner with our hospitals who have the ultra cold storage to administer that. As the emergency use authorization comes out for Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca and whatever other vaccines may come down the line, we are always proactively planning to be able to shift gears as quickly as we need to. I think a great example of that, we have two great examples of that, really. One, when we started phase 1, and we received vaccine, and we started administering vaccine that same day within just a handful of hours from receiving the first doses of vaccine. And the same thing goes with when we got the notice of being able to shift gears in phase 2. We had already been having those planning efforts in place with those that we knew were going to be eligible, had received those rosters and made communications with those organizations so that we again were able to start administering that vaccine on that same day that we were able to move into phase 2. So our planning team and our vaccination teams, we have a great team here at the health department. I like to always give them a major shout out for all the hard work that they're doing, regular work hours, after hours, weekends, to pull this all together. It's a huge undertaking. And there's a lot of proactiveness and communication happening beforehand, so we're ready to go as things shift.
Greg, as we get more vaccines become available, how many vaccines do you think you could distribute in a day if you had more vaccines?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I can actually give you that. Give me 1 second. One of the perks here of being online. So if we combine the efforts of all of our community partners right now, we have a thorough put to being able to administer 2,000 to 3,200 doses a day. And that is based on full allocation of resources to those clinics. So if you put that into perspective, right now we're receiving basically just at 2,000 doses a week. And we have the capacity to be able to administer that amount in a single day.
Wow. Is there anything underfoot as far as getting teachers vaccinated so we can get schools opened up quicker?
Yeah, we have been communicating with, we have a weekly meeting every week. It makes sense. It's a weekly meeting, but every week on Wednesdays with the school districts to discuss this. We've been discussing vaccine distribution with them and trying to figure out the adequate way to get those teachers vaccinated in an equitable fashion. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to start vaccinating into teachers here in the coming weeks, just here very soon. They are in our prioritization, if you will, of that phase 2A. So it should be happening here soon. Now, again, understanding that teachers, there are, from the surveys that we've received and the rosters that we received from the school districts, both public and private, we have over 4,000 faculty and staff that have expressed their interest in receiving the vaccine. So based on those current allotments that we see, it's still, again, going to take a little bit of time to get through all of those teachers as we move forward.
Does the Kansas Army National Guard help in vaccinations? Have they been of any help so far this year?
We have not had many interactions with the Kansas National Guard at this point in time. I don't know if Dusty's still on the call, if he's aware, as our incident commander, any communications with the Kansas National Guard at this point in time.
I know working with Aaron, and I think he's off. Oh, he's still on too. I know we've sent a couple of requests up, have not got anything back of any kind of direct assistance from those from them yet. But then again, we have to exhaust all of our resources before they're gonna.
Sure. But I'm just thinking as we get more vaccine available. My dad was an old veteran, and he was amazed at the speed they could give shots in the Army.
Sure. As a former military person, I'm amazed as well. My arms got full of them in one day. But I will say that I do know there's been talk about using the Guard at the national level, so it wouldn't surprise me. But as up to this point, if we've had any, it's been very limited. Aaron, do you got anything to add?
No, that's really it. It has been very limited. A lot of the communications we've received from the Guard mainly it's staffing issues. A lot of those personnel out there have been assigned other duties right now, and as vaccines do start to ramp up, then hopefully they can start reallocating some of those resources and personnel.
I have a question for Commissioner Cook. If our scorecard is below uncontrolled, can we assume we'll be meeting at Great Overland Station Monday?
That's what I was hoping that Craig was going to tell us, and he was going to give us the word that we are in the high so that we could make that formal announcement today to the maximum amount of people. But if we are out of uncontrolled and into high, then we will be at the Great Overland Station on Monday.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
I think it's important. We're just not getting a lot of public input, and I think that's a huge reason why. And I think we can do things safely over there. We have plenty of room to spread out, and we've made a lot. Committed a lot of effort and resources into making that facility available for this use, and I'd like to see us get back over there. I think we'd all like to get back over there.
Thank you. Any other thing from you, Craig?
No, sir. If there are no other questions, I thank you for your time as always.
Thank you. Any other administrative communications this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Kuhlman, Shawnee County Commission Office. I would like to let everyone know that the February Shawnee County newsletter called The County Connection has been published. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay, so if you go to the Shawnee County website and then the Commissioner's webpage, go. And here we go. On the left side of this page, you'll click on newsletter and then click February 2021. There we go. Commissioner Mays wrote a fantastic article titled "Hope is on the Way." The background color on this slide is a hint to the theme of his message. This month's featured department is the Shawnee County Treasurer's Office. There are a few short videos that discuss several options for the public to do business without even coming into the courthouse or the annex. Edith Gaines, the finance officer at the Shawnee County Health Department, leads the Health Department Racial Equity Impact Analysis Group. Currently, they are reviewing internal policies such as dress code, employment termination, and hiring procedures. You can read more about this group as well as other stories about Shawnee County in the County Connection. Also, don't forget to stop by the courthouse basement tomorrow for Baker's Dozen Donuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I'll look forward to reading Commissioner Mays' article.
It's good.
Any other administrative communications this morning?
Commissioners, Pat O'Blander with the Information Technology Department. Apologies for the interruption in the meeting earlier. Our Chief Network Engineer, Mark Price, jumped into action as soon as that was happening to see what it was. We did experience a network throttling issue that just popped up at an inopportune time. We're going to dig in and find out what caused that. We're currently still experiencing it, but Zoom is a pretty resilient platform and that's shifted back to lower bandwidth mode, and we're able to continue our meeting. So kudos to Zoom. We will let you know what the final result is and what caused that, but apologies from IT for the interruption.
No problem. And when we're back to the Great Overland Station on Monday, Commissioner Rippon will be happy. Thank you, Pat. Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Rippon.
No, I just wanted to say, please try to buy local. A lot of your neighbors and friends own and work in businesses. And I know it's easy to sit on the couch and click on Amazon, but we certainly need to help out our small businesses here in Topeka. So think about that before you buy. That's it.
Sounds great. Commissioner Mays.
Absolutely. I'll second what he said. Buying local is extremely important right now. And I also just want to say, go Chiefs.
I agree. Well, I don't have any other administrative communications this morning. Our next item.
Executive session.
There is a need to go into executive session. This will be for a period not to exceed from, let's say, from 10:15 to noon. And this will be for the preliminary discussion of the acquisition of real property, to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, specifically to interview 2 candidates for the Health Department Director position, and for consultation with the attorney for the public body or agency, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. No action is expected on these items.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes,
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon.
Yes.
we are in executive session from 10:15 to noon. Thank you.
I think we've still got about 15 minutes left.
Oh, we weren't supposed to go back to executive session, were we?
I didn't catch that,
I
so
didn't either. All right.
we could. I wonder if Jim's still got that active. I'm gonna try it.
I'll go too. Oh, there was Cindy.
What are you doing?
Well, we've still got about 15 minutes before we can come out, right?
Yes,
Isn't it set at noon at 12 o'clock?
yes.
Okay, so I think we're going to go back into the executive session that Jim called and see if we can get in there.
Okay.
Stephanie?
Hey, Stephanie, it's Bill. Hey, where'd everybody go? Did they go back to executive session? I went back to the commission meeting and no one's there.
No, you're the only one on the commission meeting one. Let me go check with Cook.
Okay.
I'll find out and let you know.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner, your mic is not on mute.
I know. I was trying to. Oh, I'm trying to find out where I should be right now.
Totally understand.
When you hear all stuff.
All right. We ready, Ms. Beck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are back from executive session. No action was taken. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank
See
you.
you Monday at the GOS.
That's where it will be.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
See you
Thank you.
guys.
Have a good
Go
weekend.
Chiefs.
Bye-bye.